Hi everyone, it's Natasha from AxelsonAcademy. Today I'm going to be reviewing a book that is new to me. I know an old lady who swallowed a dreidel. And yes, this is a version of I know an old lady who swallowed a fly, and this is the Hanukkah version. So if you're doing a series of comparative studies on the old lady who swallowed a fly, this is a great book to add in. This book, however, is so multi-layered. It is fascinating as you read through it. So this is what I want you to keep your eyes open for. We have, throughout the book, the illustrator has patterned the illustrations to be set up similarly to very famous paintings. And then at the very back of the book, the author tells us, the artist tells us, and gives an artist note which famous paintings all of these spreads are based on. So these are this artist's version, but it tells you what to go and Google and look up so you can do a comparison with the actual painting. This is a wonderful jumping off place to talk about fine art with little children. It also reminds me of Maitre's Learning pictures that they have out on classic portraits and different artists that you can start at a young age. I'll drop the link to that below too, where they have kids come in and get these famous pictures that are on cards and identify them and they can make a gallery in their classroom. So I love it when a book has links to other subject matter that you can delve into. If I were teaching preschool right now, this could be a whole week where we keep coming back to this book, where we look at literary elements, another great cause and effect book here that we're going to look at, while we look at the artist renditions of these famous paintings. So there's just a lot that can be done. Now, the I know an old lady who swallowed a dreidel, just like I swallowed a fly, is a rather silly story. And I always preface this by saying there's a lot of books out there that we enjoy reading, but we certainly wouldn't want to pattern our lives after. And there's a lot of reasons in here that you do not want to act like this little old lady. And one of those reasons has to do with one of the main vocabulary words that we keep coming back to again and again in here, and that word is fatal. Now, we usually don't teach the word fatal to our little kids early on. However, this lady swallows some things that are really dangerous, and they could be fatal and actually kill somebody if they did that. That's why this is a fiction made up story, because you wouldn't really do that in real life. It's made to be silly. And I always emphasize that at the beginning. So we enjoy it for its silly part, but you want your children to realize, and the author even realizes and says in the book, that these things she swallows could be fatal. So we enjoy this book for the fun that it is. I know an old lady who swallowed a dreidel. Now, the first page is all in pictures. Oh my goodness, right away, I see another link here. I see a link to writing. Let's write the story. And if I were working with preschool kids, I would be doing this together. Let's write it together on our chart paper here. I see a van pulling up, and this must be the little old lady opening the door. So happy to see them. She has her camera. Oh yeah, and here's the family. She's taking a picture. Oh, I see she has a cat there, and she's hugging the boy. Oh, and it looks like she's bringing something out here to eat. Does anybody have a guess what that is? They might guess donuts, they might guess bagels, but sure enough, it is bagel, and I get that clue here because we have cream cheese on it. But I noticed something in particular. This cat has something in its mouth. And here it is again, and he's looking at the bagel, and then he has spit out the dreidel on top of the bagel. And I feel like this is important. We might need to have the discussion here about, I'm sure your kids will tell you right away about things that cats will try to eat, and how this dreidel got here. I have to say, I think this is key to this particular book, because I always think it's ridiculous in so many of these stories where they just start off with the little old lady swallowing something and you think, oh, for Pete's sake, she wouldn't have done that. But this is an accident. The dreidel somehow got mixed in with food, and I think that the author makes a wise decision here because it does make the start of the book a little bit more believable. Okay, and now we get into the text. I know an old lady who swallowed a dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. And here we have the illustration based on the scream. So she realizes, I mean, what a great choice for this piece of art. She realizes this is not a good thing, that she swallowed the dreidel. Perhaps it's fatal. So we know right away it's not a good thing. I know an old lady who swallowed some oil, a pitcher of oil about ready to boil. She swallowed the oil to wash down the dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. Perhaps it's fatal. I know an old lady who swallowed some latkes, 5 platters of latkes hot from the potkas. She swallowed the latkes to fry in the oil that bubbled and tumbled about ready to boil. She swallowed the oil to wash down the dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. Perhaps it's fatal. Here she is falling over. So we're talking about here cause and effect. Something happens, it adds a picture each time. She swallowed the dreidel, she swallowed the oils, she swallowed the latkes, and what is the end result? It could be fatal. I know an old lady who swallowed some sauce, some smooth apple sauce that she downed in a toss. She swallowed the sauce to sweeten the latkes. She swallowed the latkes to fry in the oil that bubbled and tumbled about ready to boil. She swallowed the oil to wash down the dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. Perhaps it's fatal. I know an old lady who swallowed a brisket, a 20-ton brisket. She thought she could risk it. She swallowed the brisket to soak in the sauce. She swallowed the sauce to sweeten the latkes. She swallowed the latkes to fry in the oil that bubbled and tumbled about ready to boil. She swallowed the oil to wash down the dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. Perhaps it's fatal. I know an old lady who swallowed some gelt, a mine full of gelt before it could melt. She swallowed the gelt to follow the brisket. She swallowed the brisket to soak in the sauce. She swallowed the sauce to sweeten the latkes. She swallowed the latkes to fry in the oil that bubbled and tumbled about ready to boil. She swallowed the oil to wash down the dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. Perhaps it's fatal. I know an old lady who swallowed a menorah, a mountainous menorah, while we danced the hora. She swallowed the menorah that stood near the gelt. She swallowed the gelt to follow the brisket. She swallowed the brisket to soak in the sauce. She swallowed the sauce to sweeten the latkes. She swallowed the latkes to fry in the oil that bubbled and tumbled about ready to boil. She swallowed the oil to wash down the dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. Perhaps it's fatal. I know an old lady who swallowed some candles. 8 skyscraping candles were all she could handle. She swallowed the candles that lit the menorah that stood near the gelt, that followed the brisket, that soaked in the sauce, that sweetened the latkes, that fried in the oil, that washed down the dreidel, a Hanukkah dreidel she thought was a bagel. Burp. Perhaps. And I guarantee the whole class is going to go, it's fatal. It wasn't fatal. Whew. So at the end of this book, this silly book, we get a happy ending. And then our artist note all about the pictures, where we can go back and do a real deep dive into some fabulous art. Please take a moment to like and subscribe so you get notification of future books and activities here. And let me show you the activity that I have to go with this book. So what I did is those little squares that appear on each page, we made a colored photocopy of them. So we have all the things that the little old lady swallowed. And if we were doing that linear progression of she swallowed this, so then she swallowed this, the if-then that happens, or the cause and effect, I would have my student take all of these things and line them all up and see if they could put them in order. There was a little old lady who swallowed a dreidel. She thought the dreidel was a bagel, and I would do a retelling. We know that students who are talking with other students and little kids down to age 2 or 3, they have some of their most advanced dialogue with their peers. And if you give them these cards as the basis for this, we are developing language here. So they're going to use the words that they can remember. It doesn't have to be completely the same words that are in the book, but they're going to start, oh, there was this little old lady and she had a cat and she swallowed a dreidel. She thought the dreidel was a bagel. And then, oh, there was this pitcher and she swallowed the stuff in they might not remember it was oil, or they might, and she swallowed the oil and that was going to wash down the dreidel, but oh, then she swallowed the latkes. And so we're developing language here. Whether your child is familiar with a lot of these Jewish words, they might already know them, but we're also expanding our viewpoint of the world so that other students now know what latkes are. You might need to bring some in so that you can share that. And then after they swallowed the latkes, oh, what did they do then? Was it the sauce for the latkes to sweeten the latkes? And they'll go through all of these things. Gelt is another really fun one to teach. So we end up with all of these different cards here that we put in front of the students, and they talk through the story, retelling a story and telling with as many words that they can to remember it is a wonderful language acquisition and language development skill. I hope you enjoyed this book as much as I did. It is hilarious, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.